Are you tired of playing with muscled mans and just wanna play with a cute girl while still being the MVP all the time? Well, if you watch this whole guide without skipping around, you will be able to become a pro with a very cute and also very dangerous Kagura. What makes her so dangerous, you may ask? Well, she throws her umbrella into the face of the enemy. That surely hurts as much as knives or fire, right? She's one of the mages that never really fall out of the meta because of her flexibility, her escaping skills, great poking abilities, and her ability to deal a good amount of AoE damage. So no more blah blah. Let's get into the meaty part of this video. Also, don't forget to re-download Mobile Legends with Aptoide to get up to 30% bonus on your diamond purchases. The step-by-step guide is in the description box below. We start with her passive. Whenever Kagura picks up her umbrella, she gains a shield, stuns nearby enemies for 0.5 seconds, and slows them down by 60% for 1 second. This effect has a cooldown of 4.5 seconds, which you can indicate by this icon. Her umbrella can return to her when she got too far apart from it, which also triggers this effect as well as her second skill, but more to that later. You can use her passive in many different ways. The shield is useful to generally absorb damage, or when you turret dive to survive the turret shots. And you can use the stun abilities not only for attacking the enemy, but also when you try to escape. This was the easy part. Now to her 3 skills, where 2 of them were completely different depending if you have the umbrella in your hand, or if you just yeeted it into the face of the enemy. She throws her umbrella to a designated area, dealing magic damage and slowing the enemy by 60%. This works the same, no matter if you have the umbrella in your hand or not. So this skill is made to simply yeet the umbrella into the enemy's face, right? Well, not quite. There are a few more things you can do with this skill. Firstly, you can use the skill to check bushes, since you reveal the enemies if you throw your umbrella into it. And secondly, you can use the skill perfectly to slow down the enemy to escape. You can also use it for some sneaky bush combos, but we will talk about that later. Next is her second skill. When you have your umbrella, you dash to a designated direction, removing all CC effects from you and leave the umbrella behind. This skill you mainly use to escape, especially when you got stunned. Quick note, you can't remove the suppression effects from Franco, 𝐾𝐲𝐬 and 𝐉𝐨𝐬𝐧. So these are the only stun abilities you really need to be afraid of. Next is her second skill, without umbrella. When you use it, you dash to the umbrella and deal magic damage to nearby enemies. Since you pick up your umbrella with it, you can also trigger your passive with it. You use the skill in all attacking combos, but you can also use it to escape from your enemies. You may see a pattern here. All of her skills can be used to attack, but also to escape depending what you need right now. That's why she's so flexible, but also difficult to play. You need to know what skill is the best in each situation, which is something you will learn with experience. So don't get frustrated if you use the wrong skill in the first couple of games. You will get there. Lastly, her ultimate, which has 2 different effects again. When she has her umbrella, she deals magic damage, knocks back all enemies and slows them by 60% for 0.5 seconds. This skill you usually use in a combo with your second skill when you don't have your umbrella, or to knock back the enemies if you try to escape. When you use her ult without having the umbrella, you firstly reset the cooldown of her first skill, deal damage to all enemies around the umbrella and slow them down by how much? Exactly 60%. After 1.5 seconds, all enemies around the umbrella will be pulled towards it and you will deal another time magic damage to them. Since the cooldown of your first skill is resetted, you can use it directly to reposition it, so the second phase will definitely hit them. This is how her skills work. Let's talk about how to combine them now into deadly combos. There are 3 main combos that you should learn in the training mode before using her in your first match. The first combo you use if the enemies are gathered. First plus ult plus first plus second plus ult. You yeet the umbrella first towards your enemies and then use your ult as soon as it reaches them. Then you reposition it with your first skill and deal additional damage with it. Once the second phase of your ult is done, you can use your second skill to dash over to the leftovers, stun them with your passive and hopefully finish them off with your ult. The second combo is the one that you use when you camp and ambush an enemy. First plus ult plus second plus ult plus first. The first 2 skills do the same as in the first combo, but instead of waiting for the first ult to finish, you use your second skill directly because you want to kill the enemy before they even know what is happening to them. Afterwards you deal 2 times massive damage to the enemy with your ult and the second phase from your other ult. And if the enemy is still alive, you use your first skill again. Lastly, we have the turret diving combo. First plus ult plus first plus second plus ult plus second. This is basically the same combo as the first one, but you use your second skill at the end to get out of the turret and remove any CC if it's applied on you. With the other combos you usually don't need your second skill at the end, because the enemy should be dead. Now let's talk about a couple of situational combos. If you're being chased, you use your first to the opposite side of your current position and keep running. If the enemy keeps following you, you use your second skill to escape. If you see a low enemy, you use your first plus second, and if the enemy is still alive, you ult. If someone is chasing you when you're low, use your first plus ult plus first to slow them down and to damage them. If you're able to use all of these combos perfectly, you will be a very good Kagura player. These were 5 sentences with if at the beginning, by the way. Nice sentence structure, Nico. Anyway, let's talk about her playstyle now. When you play with Kagura, you should be aggressive and constantly looking for kills. If you can execute your combos perfectly, the enemy will have a really hard time to do anything against it. As first item you should buy your normal boots, followed by the elegant gem, not gem. This item lets you regen 20% of your HP and mana every time you level up, which means you usually don't have to go back to the base to regen. Usually you should use it as a mid lane mage. But in case you have an airheaded teammate who don't like to adjust, you can also use it on the XP or the gold lane. First we talk about her playstyle on the mid lane. Before you have reached level 4, you should just poke the enemy and do nothing too crazy. Once you unlock your ult though, you can start roaming around the map and terrorize the enemies.
Call the police. We need to call the police.
I hope I don't get demoted for that. Aim for squishy heroes of course, like the enemy's marksman, so your one-shot combo actually works. Don't just blast your combo into the face of the enemy's tank. If possible, you should rotate together with your jungler and roamer, who's hopefully not babysitting the MM. Also help your jungler to secure the turtle and defend your jungle if the enemy decides to invade it. Also try to avoid just sticking on the mid lane and support your whole team whenever possible. And don't forget to support your team by checking bushes with your umbrella, especially when your roamer never heard the word checking bushes. I know these were 2 words, leave me alone. Once the mid-game starts, you should have your 2 core items about which we will talk later. Now you can start camping in promising positions to ambush the enemy, keep ruining the day of the squishy enemies, and generally be always in the middle of the pile. When there's any action on the map, you should be right there to support your team. As mage, you don't really have the ability to push very well, so you better let your teammates do the job and focus on killing the enemies, or at least keep them away from the objectives. If none of your allies is pushing though, because they are all running around like headless chickens, you can also push. In the late game you can almost one-shot any enemy. I guess I don't need to tell you who you can't one-shot, right? Your main goal stays the same throughout the whole match. Support your team and help them securing objectives. And kills are a very effective way to do that. Keep in mind though that you're also very squishy. Play it safe and wait for the best chance to execute your combo to send a couple of enemies into the abyss, or more near to epical glory, which is even worse than the abyss. If you follow this playstyle, you should be able to win more games than you lose, which is the ultimate goal. If you play on the side lane, your goal is mainly to keep your turrets alive, help out at the turtle if it's on your side of the map, and harass your counterpart as much as possible. Especially on the gold lane you can bully your enemy, since you are stronger than most MMs in the early game. As side laner you're also responsible for pushing your lane. So do it, although it might take longer than with other heroes. If you're lucky and your teammates are actually smart, they might even help you with it. Otherwise it's the same as before. Try to support your team as good as you can. Now let's talk about her spells, emblem and build. As spell you have 2 options. You either use execute to secure more kills, or you can use flicker to have an extra dash, or to even chase down the enemies. Why am I not recommending flame shot, you may ask? Well, since you get close to the enemy with your combo anyway, execute is just a better option. If you really want to sniper the enemies away with it though, you can also use it. As emblem, you should use the mage emblem. As for sub-talent, you either use flow for more magic damage, or agility for more movement speed. As second sub-talent, you use observation for the penetration effect, and as talent, you use magic worship. With your combo, you can easily trigger the effect and deal some good additional damage. Now to a build. As boots, you should use arcane boots for the penetration effect. There are 2 core items that you should always build first: Clock of Destiny and Lightning Truncheon. Clock of Destiny gives you a lot of magic power and also a good amount of mana, which works perfectly with Lightning Truncheon. since the passive effect of Lightning Truncheon deals extra damage to the enemy depending on how much mana you have. Afterwards you can build Holy Crystal for more magic power, Genius Wand to reduce the magic defense of the enemy, and for the little penetration effect, Divine Glaive with the enemy build magic defensive items like Athena's Shield for example, Necklace of the Runs if there are regen heroes in the enemy's team, or Winter Truncheon for the frozen effect, which can save your butt many times, especially when you want to turret dive. Lastly, let's talk about good teammates and counters for her. One really good thing about Kagura is that she has almost no hard counters. CC effects she can easily remove, and with her escape mechanics she can easily escape the most difficult situations. However, she can't remove suppression effects, so a hero like Franco or Kaja is a really good counter against her. There are also a couple of soft counters against her though. Is soft counter even the right word? I don't know. But I think you know what I mean, right? Firstly, we have one-shot heroes. All escape mechanics doesn't help you if you're dead before you can even use them. Another good way to counter her is using heroes who are not squishy. When you use a tank or a fighter as jungler for example, she will have a hard time dealing with them. Athena Shield is another counter of course, as well as very quick heroes like Lancelot or Fanny for example, since they can easily dodge her combo. As for who Kagura is counting, we have of course all squishy heroes and all heroes without dash skills, since they have almost no chance of escaping her combo. Good teammates are all teammates who can stun the enemy, since they easily enable your combo. Heroes like Tigreal or Atlas are especially good, since they pull the enemies together. Now I'm sure you're also interested in the backstory of your new queen. Here you can check it out. Also a huge shout out to 𝐾𝐳𝐬𝐽 for making this guide. Check out his channel for some Kagura montages, link in the description.